Assalamu alaikum everyone. For this week's episode, we had the pleasure to speak with Marwan, a fourth year 4.0 GPA mechatronics student, a study enthusiast. We talked about how attitude towards learning affects your studies, whether GPA is important in your career or not, and what are the best practices inside and outside the classroom. Marwan also shed some light on the skills needed and how motivation and hard work can play a role in achieving the successful student mentality. We hope you are looking forward into this episode as much as we do. So grab a notepad and start writing. Oh, almost forgot. Do follow us on our Instagram page at the Castronics for the latest updates. Also, Eid Mubarak.
Assalamu alaikum and Eid Mubarak to all our listeners. As we celebrate this joyous occasion, let us remember the true meaning of Eid, a time for forgiveness, unity, and gratitude. May Allah shower you and your loved ones with blessings, and may this Eid bring you peace, happiness, and prosperity. From all of us here at the Castronics, we wish you a very happy and blessed Eid.
Hello everyone, Eid Mubarak, and as we say in Egypt, Eid Saeed. Anyways, hope you have a great Eid and don't forget to embrace every moment. Bye.
You are now listening to the Castronics podcast.
Hosted by MBS, Maryam and Hajar.
Weekly episodes are coming up, so stay tuned.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to the Castronics podcast. Today we'll have a very interesting guest. His name is Marwan Ehab, the Abbas. Hello, Marwan.
Hello.
We are very happy to have you with us today.
Likewise.
Can you please introduce yourself to the listeners?
Well, before I introduce myself, I want to thank you for having me here because I think what you're doing is something really special and I'm very glad to be a part of it. And I hope that the listeners, especially the younger students, can really benefit from what I have to share.
We are the younger students.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit about myself. I first came to Malaysia in July 2018. I came literally 1 month after finished my AS examinations. And since then, I've been a UTM student. So I did 1 year of UTM Space Foundation. And now I'm doing 4 years of bachelor's degree in electrical engineering mechatronics. And hopefully we're graduating with Toure this semester.
Hopefully we do. Inshallah.
We still have a long
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Why did you do foundation when you finished AS?
I was going to do foundation right after IGCSE, but I was too young. But the reason I did foundation is because it was going to be a shortcut for me. I would have skipped A2 and directly went into uni.
Yeah.
I did that. I didn't take A-levels at all. I just did O-levels and then foundation.
I would have done the same, but
Yeah,
I was
same.
too young to do it at the time.
How young
and
is too young?
I was 15.
Dude, a lot of students are like 16, 15 when they enter university.
Wait, 15 as in entering UTM Foundation?
Yeah, I was 15 when I finished my IGCSE, and then I did AS, so I became 16 and entered foundation.
Oh, so
Also, it was like the age?
My brother entered Foundation and he was 15 at the time.
Well, good for him.
Maybe it has changed over the years.
I don't think I was mature enough to travel to a whole new country alone and live there. I needed some time, I guess.
To think about that, that's actually mature.
So you've also spent almost going to like finish your 5 years in UTM, right?
Yeah, I'm almost
It
finishing
is 5 years,
in
yeah.
UTM.
That's a long time.
It is, yeah.
How's your experience been like so far in UTM or Malaysia as a whole?
I think it's been a great choice, although it wasn't my choice in the first place. I was mostly following my sister. She came before me. I mean, I don't regret it at all. I think it's a very good country. I adapted very well. I like the people. I like the country. I like the environment. I like UTM. Unlike popular opinion, people do not really like the way UTM is handling the. People do not really like UTM in general. I don't know why, but I do like it as a university. I think it's a very good choice. Despite the many drawbacks and like the things that happen occasionally with UTM, but overall it's a very good university.
No, honestly, UTM is a very good university.
I would like to say it's my toxic relationship. I say I hate it. However, I love it. Yeah, I never want to leave. It's weird. Anyways, continue.
You get the feeling at the beginning that you want to stay for a long time.
Yes.
But once you reach fourth year, especially this sem, you want to just leave as soon as possible.
Honestly, no, it's different for me.
Really?
So, I mean, my 8th semester, just like you, and I don't want to leave. Not because of the uni. I like the uni, obviously, but because of the people I've met so far. Like the idea of me separating with all the people I've met, that kind of makes me sad to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Cue the sad
Yeah,
music.
we're about we're about to start a new chapter of our life that it's going to be much of a reset in our social life, I guess. But I mean, it's still exciting that we get to go into the workforce, yeah.
Can't wait to hear from you guys. Like,
Yeah.
a couple of months.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
Oh my god.
So basically, Marwan, you're very known in our batch to be a top scoring student, mashallah, almost four flat in everything. So we kind of wanted to know, so studying from your perspective, what are the skills needed and how do you do what you're doing exactly?
I think the first thing I want to mention is I was lucky because I took the British curriculum. I think the British curriculum really teaches you how to become a better student, basically during IGCSE. So basically during IGCSE and AS, you're taught how to study well. The responsibility is very clear that your IGCSEs and your AS or A2 are very important. And the way Cambridge handles their examination is very good. They make it very official. They give you a lot of papers, which students might think it's very stressful. Why do I need to do 3 papers for the same course or the same subject?
But it prepares you.
But yeah, it prepares you because you have 3 types of papers. You have MCQs, you have objective questions, and then you have like
Practical,
practical if it's a science subject. But you have to think that each examination has its purpose, and it's preparing you for different types of approach to the same thing, which is doing the examinations. So that gives you a lot of experience academic wise.
I actually kind of relate because like when I did my IGs, I feel like it taught me like, thinking outside the box when answering the questions. So I think that helped me a lot during university.
See, there is a very funny rivalry. There is always this debate between IGCSE students and American students.
Yes.
Because so
He's a hater.
IG students always brag about the fact that their curriculum was much harder and all that. But at the end, we get to the same place, kind of. But there's something I noticed throughout my time in university is that IG students were a lot of the times more prepared than American students.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I believe, I'm not sure because I don't have much experience with SAT. My sister took SAT, but you guys are only examined for mainly math and English. And if you're taking SAT2,
SAT2.
Yeah, SAT2, you're doing some science. But
Physics or chemistry, depending on your choice.
Yeah, but it's not very compulsory, is it? So like you're only doing math and English, which is not very comprehensive of what you're really learning.
Yeah, so like the main is SAT. Everybody has to take it, which is math and English. And SAT2 is for universities who require it from some students when it comes to fields like engineering. So I took SAT2, physics, and if I'm not mistaken, biology.
So basically, after my IGCSEs, I went into foundation and now I'm doing my bachelor's. And basically what I've learned is that students must have a positive attitude towards learning. And that positive attitude starts with you having to enjoy what you're learning. So I was lucky that I made the right choice of choosing the faculty of electrical engineering, although my choice of mechatronics was a bit shaky. I think I would have done better or have been happier doing electronics engineering, but I'm still doing very well in mechatronics, and the subjects I'm learning are very interesting and I still do enjoy them. Okay, so for the students that really did not know what to choose or may think that they made the wrong choice or whatever reason it is, you really need to learn to enjoy your studies regardless. So let's say you wanted to do business and you were forced into engineering. Then use engineering as a tool to do business related stuff. So because in your career, you can do whatever you want really. So you want to do business, but you have a bachelor's of engineering, just become a sales engineer. You're doing business and you're using your bachelor of engineering.
Your major doesn't limit you.
It doesn't define you. And then
Yeah, as long as you acquire the skills that you want to go into the industry that you want, then you're good. But focusing on academic, if you enjoy what you study, you naturally want to study it. So you wouldn't feel like it's a toll or a task that you need to do that is going to be something that is heavy or annoying, because you're enjoying it, you're going to do it naturally. And if you don't know, or if you don't enjoy what you're studying, learn to enjoy it. at the very least, you need to know why you're studying. Once you know why you're studying it, you might start to enjoy it, or you might realize how important it is, and you might focus on it more. You might not enjoy it, but at least you need to know why you're studying. So I'm studying electrical engineering. I know that electrical engineering is a very important major in terms of technology. Once you graduate, you're going to get into the tech industry. Knowing what you're studying also is relating to every lecture. You need to know why you're going to every lecture. So one example I like to use is electronic devices lecture. That subject gives PTSD to students.
Hello, I am student.
taking it right now.
I'm taking the requisite. What's the opposite of prerequisite?
Follow up, I guess.
Yeah, I'm taking that one.
Oh, electronic systems.
Yes.
Oh.
Electronic.
Test one was not fun.
So this is one funny thing. I hated devices, but I loved electronic systems. Why? Don't ask me.
Yeah, electronic systems is very simple and straightforward.
Yeah, it was very simple, right? And so
Hello.
for me, the hardest subject after AMT was probably devices, because I hated it. I don't know why. Yeah, I hated devices. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the mode of teaching, because at the time it was online.
I would like to say online was horrible because most doctors, I think, would have done better face to face. However, my doctor, his voice lulled me to sleep.
If I would give him an excuse, he was probably not prepared.
Yes. Yeah, so that's my excuse. However,
teach online.
I give myself also an excuse because the doctor was boring.
As I was saying, so electronic devices, students do not, most students do not like studying that subject. They think it's very difficult, but you need to realize why you're studying that subject. So in that subject, we're mainly focusing on transistors. So the operation of BGT, MOSFET, etc. So one might think, why am I learning the BGT if in practical, in reality, or as an engineer, you might not need to really deal with the BGT itself because it's a very small concept and you go to the IC itself. So why am I learning what's inside the IC? Well, you need to realize that you're not just going to learn how to operate an IC. You need to learn how the IC is designed, because you might design an IC. So how are you expecting yourself to design ICs in your job if you do not know the basic function of a BGT or how it operates? So you need to think large scale of like the large, how the small things that you're learning in every lecture
are going to affect the way you're going to work in the future.
Yeah, how it relates in a general perspective. So you're learning how BGT operates because you might become an IC design engineer. Another thing is you need to relate what you're studying. So you cannot just learn the course and dump it the next semester. You do not really remember what happens. It happens to me. Some courses I do not remember what happened in that course, but I still have an idea of what I learned and how I can relate it to what I'm learning next. So that happens frequently with me is when I finish one semester, I go to the other semester and we start to learn our subjects. I'm like, okay, we're learning this new thing. The curriculum was designed by professionals. It might have a lot of flaws, but you need to trust the system. So they designed the curriculum for us to go step by step. You're learning the basics in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. You start to learn a lot of practical stuff and things that are more general and more from the top. You're taking the top view instead of going really deep inside. So if you pay attention, you're going to realize why you're learning these stuff. You're going to start to relate why I learned this in year 1, year 2, and how I can apply it in year 3, year 4.
Just to get to the certain output or outcome at the end of your graduation. Because they expect from you a certain level. So to get to that level, you just got to trust the system, as you said.
Yeah, the system is designed to be coherent, and everything is going to relate to each other and it's going to make sense. Even like the math subject.
That's the one example that popped in my brain because I always relate math because math is my favorite subject. So I'm like, okay, first sem, why are we learning this? Second sem, oh, that's why we're learning this. We're applying it in differential equations.
Or applying it in signals.
I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's so nice.
Yeah, so when you're in your first semester, you gotta trust that what they're teaching you, you're gonna use it later. And once you're in the later, you gotta realize why you learned it in the first place.
But actually, you know what? I want to say something. As much as we don't realize this, the subjects that we learn in our very first semester are the most important ones. Because they lay the foundations. See, someone who's struggling with electrical circuits, for example, might not get too far with it because you need to understand that subject in order to understand the the ones after. When we get to, let's say, I don't want to give names because not everybody is in mechatronics, obviously, but you get my point. You know, the subjects you learn in your very first year or first semester are going to be very important, and they lay the foundation for the next subjects you're going to learn later in your studies.
Yeah, that's correct.
I wanted to ask, like, how did you cope, like, during online physical, compared side to side?
I have a clear opinion on online studying is that it doesn't work. I really hated that period. I don't want to use hated. I don't like the word hate. It's too strong. I disliked that period very much. I didn't perform as well as I could have. There is a lot of factors that went into it. Other than the platform being online, studying from home was very difficult for me. But in general, online classes were not it for me. I did okay, but I could have done much better. And it's evident because whenever I'm in physical classes, I enjoy that class more, I pay attention more, I generally feel more positive, I do better in my exams. Not to mention that the exams are much easier. That sem when we switched from online back to physical, I went into the test and I did the test, I was like, why is this so easy? And then I realized that during the online exams, they were purposely making the test way harder for us, and which could explain why I didn't do as well as I could have. But that was a relief going back into physical classes. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's kind of relatable.
Very relatable, yeah.
I know, right?
I hated online and I hope it never returns again, hopefully, inshallah, because it was not very nice.
Even until now, whenever the lecturer says that, I cannot
Yeah,
attend.
if it's online, I don't really pay attention.
Yeah, whenever
At
the
all.
I want to tell them, like, if you make it online, I'm not attending. And if I'm attending, like, half of the thing, not half even, like 95% of the things you're saying are not going into my brain.
That
I'm
was me
sleeping.
today, because you're trying to multitask. The way I see online classes is like a
Podcast.
background noise. Yeah, it's like a podcast, not the cash but it's like a podcast. Not really a podcast, but a background noise. So I don't pay much attention, but I'm there just for the lecturer to know that I'm there. That's it. But I'm trying to work on other things at the same time. Whereby if you have the class in physical, then you get to enjoy the real juicy stuff, let's say, of the subject itself.
I like to sit in front. I can't sit in front in online. I love sitting in front. The thing is, if I don't sit in front, I'm going to be looking at people's heads and wondering stuff. It's not, and then I'm going to be analyzing every single person around me, and I'm not going to concentrate in class.
So let me get
get
this straight.
distracted
You get
easily.
distracted, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the word.
Yes. So I need to be in front, and I like to be in front because I feel like you get a fresh, like you get the information fresh. But then if you're like behind someone, you're getting the info plus them plus whoever's after, you know.
Interesting concept.
I like the way she thinks.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, about sitting in front, I do like sitting in front because I want to get the attention of the lecturer, either because I want to ask questions, which I do a lot, or I want to answer his questions, because most of the time people are just silent. I know the answer, but if I'm sitting at the back, I'm not going to answer all the way from the back. If I'm right in front of you, I'm going to give you the answer directly. So I like, and that way I think I try to help the lecturers, because if it's too silent, it's too awkward. But at the same time, I don't want to be that kid that is trying to flex
that
too hard.
annoying kid, yeah.
Even until now, whenever the lecturer says class is cancelled, can we do it online? I'm like, yeah, sure, but I'm gonna just control MU, so like it doesn't really count as a class for me. Just take the attendance, mute the tab, and go do whatever. It doesn't really count for me as a class, which is not ideal, because I get to pay that expense later whenever I want to study. I either have to study whatever I missed on my own, or I have to waste my time watching recorded lectures. When it comes to academics, I always try to be competitive. I'm so competitive, it gets to the point I get jealous if someone is doing better than me. If there's a very challenging question that the lecturer asked, and then someone else is able to answer that question, and I didn't manage to answer it myself, I would feel jealous. Why couldn't I answer that question as well?
My question is, so there you go with the qualities that make you who you are. Now, I want you to give a sort of advice to the people. So let's say now you have new students entering university, and obviously their goal is to maintain a 4 flat GPA all the time. What are the qualities that helps you maintain such a high GPA throughout your semesters?
Yeah, I get it. So what I'm trying to say with being competitive, I'm not saying that I'm competitive so just to say it. I'm saying that you should yourself also be competitive with other students.
Try to aim for the best.
You have to have that attitude towards learning, which is, because that is the part I'm trying to cover. You need to be a competitive student. You need to focus on becoming competitive in your class. You need to aspire to become to get the highest grades always. So that is the quality that you need to acquire. I already have that quality by nature, but you as a student, you need to acquire. You need to acquire that quality of being a competitive student and aspiring to be better than others. Do not take it to the extreme like me, where I get jealous of other people, but you need to maintain that passion to become a better student.
I actually wanted to ask because, like, at some point I was like very passionate about getting the higher grades and everything. But then I want to ask, what's the point when in career-wise, GPA is not the most important thing? So, like, what's the point?
Okay, so I was expecting that question. The GPA controversy. So what I did is I directly asked my hiring manager during my internship about that so that I get the bottom line of that topic. So what he said is that the GPA is important because it sets a filter, basically. What he said is around 3.5 to 3.7, they would look at your resume and take you seriously. Lower than that, they might not consider you, and anything probably lower than 3, they wouldn't even look at it. So your GPA is going to give incentive for your hiring manager to consider your resume. And you got to think about it more deep. Why does the GPA have to do with anything? Because once you start working, you're not going to really use what you learned because it's academic. And then when you go into an engineering workspace, everything becomes more practical.
It's your experience that matters.
Yeah, so what matters is that the number is an indicator. It measures your performance. So if I have a high CGPA, what can the employer assume? I'm a committed person. I care about my studies. I put in effort into my studies. I do well in my studies. I can understand what is being taught. I'm consistent in doing my assignments. I'm overall a responsible person. So that number is going to reflect your qualities as a responsible individual. So the employer would trust you that if you're able to do well in your studies, then that will translate as you becoming an effective member in my team, you being a responsible person in the department. In academics, it's easier to get high CGPA without having those qualities. So you would need other things to back it up, which is extracurricular activities. But then you would look at a person that has a lot of extracurricular activities but a low CGPA. You would say, if I have those activities, then that is also proof that I'm a responsible person and I can function and I can communicate, I can work in a team, etc. But you really have to justify to your employer why your CGPA dropped that much in correspondence to you doing extracurricular activities. So you become a president of an ISS, you become a president of a club. You have to have something that is really strong that is going to convince him, yeah, because I had so much responsibility outside academics, I chose to sacrifice my academics for that.
Yeah,
so
but note here, the problem is the employer is not going to see it the same way because, again, there is a factor which is priority. Now, know that keeping a high CGPA or scoring well at school is a priority. It's something that you have to do. However, joining a club is not something you have to do. It's more of a choice. So then I think the priority also plays a big role. So I don't think having a lot of extracurricular activities with a low CGPA is an excuse, because at the end it shows how skewed or how bad your priorities are in setting them up.
You know, but like some people are very bad at academics.
Naturally, you mean?
Yeah. Like not everyone is good, you know, at like studying and like maintaining like a good GPA. I feel like people are trying, but then like the activities are the things that back them up.
Yeah, I agree. So, but you gotta make sure that you have a very strong justification as to why your CGPA dropped that much. So you have to show that your extracurricular activities are really worth it. You did something special. You didn't just do some one or two activities and like, oh, that's why. You cannot use it as an excuse. You have to show your commitment to that purpose. So one trick people use is to remove their CGPA from their resume, and that helps drag away the attention from their academics and let the employer focus more on their work experience or their extracurricular activities. But yeah, so your CGPA is important. Do not use what I said as an excuse. You need to maintain a high CGPA just to convince your employers of you becoming a responsible person, but also do not focus on your CGPA too much that you forget to do the other extracurricular activities, because your CGPA is just 3 lines in your resume: your university, your major, and your grade. That's it. That is how much it takes. So if that is the only thing that you have, those 3 lines, you're gonna have a blank page.
Okay, so fun question. What are the activities that you're involved in?
Right now, I'm working with SAE. It's a automotive mechanical engineering club. So I'm not an official member. I'm a committee member. So I help them organize their events.
You're my colleague.
Yeah, we've worked together in a few events. Yeah, and right now we're working on I'm working on my 4th event with them. And yeah, that is on my resume. I'm telling my employers that I'm able to function outside academics and I'm working with this club doing XYZ. And yeah, that is the main thing I'm doing right now, is working with SAE. But I know that wasn't enough, so I focused on getting more experience. So I'm also doing an internship with the university lab. I think the internship with the university lab, I wouldn't say is more important, but it suits me better because the work I'm doing in the university lab is much more enjoyable for me. So I added that to my resume because the past year, basically, I've been focusing on is how to build a very strong resume. So I try to acquire as much experience as possible. And I learned how to write a good resume, what are the skills needed by the employers, how can I improve the resume in terms of writing, what I need to include in the resume, what are the employers looking for. I did that. I asked a lot of employers about that, and then I finally managed to get the template that is very representative of me and is good enough to get me where I need to be.
May I ask about the internship? Like, where did you do it, and like, how did you get in?
Yeah, so during the last semester break, I knew I had 1 month of doing nothing. And basically every semester break that I've had, I would stay in my room for 3 to 4 weeks doing nothing, wasting time. And I thought I have to use that time better. So I decided to do an internship. So all I did is just write one simple email to the lab coordinator. I want to do an internship with you. Do you have a vacancy? She said yes. And then I just talked to her, know what type of work she wants me to do. I liked it, so I just started working on it. It's
So,
simple
like,
as that. Just send an email.
That was like the plan, or like, did you have a plan to like work with a company as in an internship?
Working with a company, I already did it during my industrial training. I could have applied again for another company, but I only planned to do it for 1 month during the break. It's very difficult to get an internship for 1 month with a company. They require 3 months plus. So the easiest option was to go for a university lab. Originally, it was planned to be 1 month, but it got extended. I'm still doing it until now. I didn't finish my work. I'm doing it in parallel with studying. But doing the work at the university lab is really good. I don't recommend doing it for your industrial training. Your industrial training, 100% you need to go work for a company. If you're doing something extra and you want to do it for a short period of time, ask your faculty labs if they have any vacancy, any projects that you would like to be involved in, because you can then do it in parallel with you studying, because you're going to be in the faculty anyways.
And do you think as a first or second year student that would be a good like start, or like does it have to be like a third or fourth year?
No, do internships every year. There's no problem.
Honestly, there's something I keep repeating is whenever you have free time, don't waste it in nothingness and go do an internship. I did the mistake of not doing an internship ever since my first year, but if I had the occasion to or the opportunity to, I would have done one every summer. So as much as you can, try to look for internships and try to look for places you could work in and increase your experience.
Yeah. I only realized that I need to take building my resume seriously starting from third year, which is quite late, but it's never too late because I already achieved what I want with my resume in just 1 year. You just have to be dedicated to the cause or to your goal. And if you're a first year student, don't put too much pressure on yourself, but you have to try to acquire whatever is possible for you to build your resume from now. Take an internship, join a club, do something regularly, and try to use your time positively, but you also don't want to put too much pressure on yourself because you have 4 years. If you do that for too long, you might get worn out.
Very quickly.
If you're a really sociable person and you think you are up to the responsibility, get involved with a few clubs, but that might come at the cost of your academics. So you have to balance that out. But if I was you, I wouldn't trade my academics, too much for social activities or social clubs, but that's just a personal preference. If you're able to do it, then do it.
Did you join Robocon?
Yeah. So Robocon is the thing for electrical engineering students. I remember first year it was so much pressure to join Robocon. It's like, yeah, join Robocon. It's really good. And then I felt the pressure. I got peer pressured into it. I only joined the recruitment session. So I did I don't remember how long it was, but they put us in a lab and they asked us to build a auto car from scratch. So Robocon are really looking for someone that is extremely talented and extremely committed to
Creative. Especially creative.
Yeah, someone that is creative, but they have to be extremely talented in electronics in general. They have a few departments, but they're really looking for the best of the best. And they're also looking for someone that is very committed to the club, because they sacrifice everything at Robocon. From the people that I know that became official members, they will lose a lot of sleep. They will lose a lot of.
We've seen that. It's as
Yeah,
bad
it is
as
true.
being in architecture. Sorry for architecture students.
Oh
But the thing is, if you get into that club, I mean, the club has a very good reputation. Obviously, whoever gets into Robocon, I mean, there
It's
you
like
go.
a huge thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
You made it.
Yeah.
Okay? But the thing is, it comes at the cost of your sleep, your mental health, sometimes your CGPA even, because it's a very draining extracurricular activity. So how was your experience like, even during the recruitment session?
Yeah, so during the recruitment session, I didn't do very well. Although I managed to get to the interview stage, so they were interested in me joining the club, but I wasn't interested in them because the work was too much. I didn't think I could do that commitment. I also thought somehow I didn't deserve it because I didn't do well in the session. So I don't know, like one of the tasks that they asked us to do is to design a PCB circuit from scratch. So they told us how the circuit functions, but then you're supposed to design every single placement of components and every single wire, whatever. But then the thing is about designing PCBs is that you do not use jumper wires, you use soldering. So soldering cannot jump basically because it's just...
Soldering is horrible.
It's a 2D circuit, if you can say it this way.
Yeah.
So
It's a
there's
2D
no
circuit.
overlap.
Yeah, so
No overlap.
lines cannot overlap.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of components, ICs, etc. And I didn't even manage to design that circuit on my own. I tried a lot drawing the circuit, but I couldn't figure it out. And then I used my friend's design to try to catch up and continue the process. But I felt that if I couldn't even do that task, then I'm probably I cheated that task, so I don't deserve being, or I'm not qualified enough being in that team. But also for electrical engineering students, do not think that if you do not get into Robocon, you missed out, because Robocon is just one of many clubs that you can join. I'm an electrical engineering student, and I'm working with an automotive mechanical engineering club.
Exactly.
So like it's not the end of the world if you do not get into Robocon. But if you're really into what they're doing, you really want to go into competitions, you really like building robots, building cars, whatever, you're really into that type of thing, then join them. But you have to also be ready to be 100% committed to that team.
At some point, you're gonna have to sacrifice something.
See, there's always going to be something you sacrifice. Yeah. It's up to you to choose what to sacrifice. Do you want to sacrifice your academics? Or do you want to sacrifice your mental health? Or your sleep? Or your inner comfort? So I think that applies to every situation.
I've sacrificed enough, and I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'm not sacrificing anything. I'm putting myself priority above all, and whatever happens, happens, and I'm okay with it. At this point, like right now, Mariam right now is totally different from Mariam like in online. Mariam in online, oh my God, was so like crazy about grades, and I wouldn't achieve. So I would like really study hard, but I still wouldn't achieve the stuff or like my expectations. So I would be so hard on myself, and now I'm like, it's okay. I've done what I don't do what I need to do, but I'm like, you've done it. It's okay. You're fine. Let's look forward. Yeah, it's fine. I'm okay.
Yeah, like for me now, like grades are not like the most important thing for me now. It's mostly about like enjoying to learn and like joining as much experiences, getting to have a lot of experiences is good.
That you like.
Yeah, that I like and I love, It's
that's
not
what
about
keeps
grades.
you moving anyways.
Exactly. If I keep focusing on my grades, my mental health would have been dead like long time ago.
Quite relatable.
The next thing I want to talk about is have to have that concept that you do top quality work for the sake of doing top quality work. So you do your work at the highest quality, you try to exceed expectations, you do it as good as possible because that work represents you. So you always have to have a good image of yourself through your work. So you do it regardless. You don't have to be like, oh, why am I doing this? Blah, blah, blah. This is useless. This is a waste of my time. No, everything you encounter, you do it to the best quality possible, regardless of how simple or how complex the task is. Another mentality that I don't like is I just want to pass mentality. I really hate it. I really dislike that mentality. Why are you going into the exam thinking, I just want to pass? Why not going into the exam, I'm going to get an A? Why are you not aspiring for the highest achievement and just going with the bottom line into your exams or your tests or whatever the assessment is? You always have to look up to the highest goal possible and aim for that. Having that just want to pass mentality is going to negatively affect you in everything, even outside academics. You don't want to just brush by and just want to pass, just want to get an average job. For me, whenever I'm going into an exam, I'm always thinking that I'm going to get an A. Getting less than an A, that means I didn't study hard enough.
But isn't that like being hard on yourself?
No, that's the thing. I think using the excuse, I'm too hard on myself, my mental health is too soft. You're doing university during this time from 18 to 21 or 22 or whatever the age is you graduate. You really need to put in as much work as possible because that time is the only time that you're going to get that you can invest in yourself or
In your studies.
In your studies,
and
yeah.
that's
You're
your
not
optimum intelligence, if we say, or that's the moment where you're going to get to evaluate your performance the best when it comes to academics.
You're not going to get that time back again. You're not going to be 20 again. So you really need to work very hard in your studies. When you're 30, you're not going to have that same environment around you. You're not going to be at the same age. You're not going to have the same time. So really do not use it as an excuse. Do your best work. Another thing I notice is people complain about lecturers and they always try to switch sections to get the better lecturer. So the lecturer has nothing to do with what you're learning because whether the lecturer is very good or really bad, that is also an objective thing, whether the lecturer is good or bad, but you're going to do your best at that course regardless of the lecturer. You're going to study as good as possible. If your lecturer is good, then you're lucky you got a good lecturer. The lecturer that is good is going to teach you well. They're not going to go do your test. They're not going to give you a different assignment. You're getting the same content. It's just that the lecturer that is good is going to explain it in a better way. They're going to try to be more engineering-wise. They're going to explain it from a different perspective. But if your lecturer is just reading the slides, it doesn't really matter because you're going to go home and study that slide on your own. So your performance should be stable, the best performance possible regardless of the lecturer. So you're doing 100%, and if your lecturer is good, they're giving you an extra 1%, but you're already at 100%, so it doesn't really matter. The last thing I want to cover for your attitude towards learning is stop procrastinating. I call procrastinating lying to yourself. Stop lying to yourself. You're not going to study better at night. You're not going to really wake up early and do all the work that you missed. So do your work as soon as possible, because if you keep procrastinating, then you're gonna get everything cluttered. Once everything is cluttered, then you're gonna have to sacrifice, and your work quality is gonna drop. Okay, so the skills I want to highlight that every student must have is high discipline, good time management, dedication, focus, and always being prepared ahead of time. So briefly on each skill is discipline. You have to be disciplined enough to come up with a plan and actually do your plan. So whenever you're doing your time management, you said, I'm going to do this. You have to be disciplined enough to actually do what you planned and not just set the plan and not do anything about it. So discipline is very important. Discipline also includes attending all your classes. Stop skipping your classes, basically. Time management is very important. For me, I manage everything. I literally manage my time for everything. I mostly do it in my head, but time management is so important. One example for time management is the study week. The study week, before the week starts, I'm already on my laptop, on my Excel sheet. I'm assigning what I want to do in each day before the week even starts. And then I allocate that time. And you also have to have the discipline to stick to that schedule that you have set. Focus is very important. You need to focus in and out of class. You need to pay attention in class. And focus outside class is very important because whenever I'm studying at the library and I see other people, their attention span is worse than a goldfish, basically. They cannot sit at their desk and study for like 6 hours straight. So you have to have that discipline to study for long periods of time and get your work done. I see people all the time going from day to night, and they're
achieving very little.
Yeah, the pure hours that they've actually sat down and done their work, and like they go to the library for 10 hours and they only did 1 hour of work.
Do study groups work with you? Because I've tried it, it doesn't work with me. If I want to work, if I want to study correctly, I need to be alone.
Study groups with friends, bro. It doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Even with non-friends, if we can say it this way, but study groups for me is a no-no. I just cannot focus on them.
Study groups are good for you to have a commitment towards studying, so you already allocated that time that you're going to meet your friends at the library, for example, and study. But you have to have the discipline to actually do your work. So whenever I ask my friends to go study, we go at the library, but then I don't talk to them for 4 hours straight. I'm doing my work. Rarely my attention does not deviate into like talking to them or whatever, because like I said, you have to really focus on your work and be disciplined enough to do your work.
That takes a lot of discipline.
I think the study room is the perfect place to actually study, because like there are these barriers
that prevent you.
Yeah. What are your best practices inside and outside class?
First thing first is that you need to attend all your classes and actually pay attention in class. Paying attention is just not focusing with the lecture. You need to take notes. So everything the lecturer is saying that is not written in the slides has to be written in your notes. Another thing is you need to mark your calendars. Whenever the lecturer says, this is the due date of the assignment, this is the upcoming test, you need to mark your calendar, not just brush by it. Okay, when the test is near, she's going to send a reminder or whatever. I usually just mark it in my calendar and set a 5-day reminder. So 5 days before the test, I'm already aware that there's a test or there's a due date, so I can manage my time more efficiently. Like I said, do not clutter your work. Another thing I encourage is asking questions, especially if something that is outside the box. Do not just take the information as is. Try to think as why the thing you're learning is how it is. So a quick example is in my VLSI class, the lecturer says that electron flow is faster than hole flow. So normally we're doing, okay, yeah, let's write that. Electron flow is faster than hole flow. But then I was curious, why is that? So I went to the lecture after the class, why is electron flow faster than the hole flow? And then she explained the physics behind it. So that actually cultivates your mind to try to think outside the box and try to know what is actually happening, not just take the information as is.
So curiosity is very important.
Yes.
Curiosity, which also relates to like the passion to learn.
Yes, that is very correct. So for outside class is you have to make a routine, write a to-do list, solve past exams. I cannot emphasize how important it is to solve past exams. Write notes. So whatever you're studying, you have to write it. So you cannot say, I read the slides, this is me studying. You have to actually write what you studied, because once you wrote what you studied, you would focus better. You would engage more senses at the same time, so it's going to help you memorize faster. And you're going to be summarizing whatever you're learning, so that way your brain would understand it much better. You're not just reading, you're actually engaging more than one thing at the same time.
I usually write and talk to the wall, like saying the information.
Another thing that is very important is get good sleep. I cannot emphasize how important it is to maintain a very good sleep schedule. During this Ramadan, my sleep schedule got messed up. I started to become edgy. I don't even know how people maintain a bad sleep schedule and function normally. I get 8+ hours of sleep, and that has really helped me so much in life in general. I can function properly. I can think clearly all the time. I'm not on edge. Getting good sleep is very important for you to be able to do your basic functions. It obviously depends on the person, but for me, I get 8+ hours of sleep, and I emphasize my sleep. Even if I didn't finish studying, sleep is more important to me. So I go to bed, because what's the point of going into the exam sleepy and that my brain does not function? So whatever I studied has been thrown down the trash if I didn't sleep. So sleeping is more beneficial than getting that last 2 chapters that I didn't study, for example.
For more insights about sleep, go listen to
episode 5.
There you go.
The Ramadan episode.
The Ramadan episode, yes.
So as the podcast tends to its end, do you have any final remarks or final comments you want to say to the listeners?
One thing I like to do to keep my motivation up is this statement I came up with: any progress is good progress. taking baby steps is better than being at the same place that you were yesterday. So every day, even if you do something very small, it's better than doing nothing at all. Because you got to remember that a giant snowball rolling down a hill starts as a small ball with a little nudge up the hill. So a little nudge will go a long way later on. It's better than just standing in the same place you were yesterday. Another thing is about the statement of working smart, not hard. That statement, I think, might need some revision. In my opinion, it's better to say work very hard, but do it effectively and efficiently, which is smart.
Interesting. I like how you twisted the proverb.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and coming to speak with us. And this discussion was very nice and insightful about your brain. Like, I like that we went inside Marwan's brain to know how Marwan functions and how to see the qualities that we can borrow from you to also achieve and become better, inshallah.
Hopefully the listeners gained very valuable information from this podcast, and that'll help them to score better in their academics. So thanks a lot, Marwan.
Yeah, thank you a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode. We hope it was a very insightful and interesting one. Wish you on the next one. Assalamu alaikum.
Bye.
Bye.